Okay, welcome back with Happy Chopper, and this is about death. How we see it, how we feel it, how we have hold funerals, how we are at them funerals. So, I'm not really a person that would go to funerals. I think for me to go to a funeral, especially now, I would be very hypocritical. And one of the things they find frustrating about people, I would love every soul, but it doesn't mean that I have to enjoy and love things that the people do, the darkness they bring upon their own soul. And that's what this video is about. So, when I see a funeral and I see people going up to the family um, who have supposedly lost someone within their family. Now, you could say it's the loss of the body. But from what I've learned in life, we're supposed to celebrate it at death and appreciate what we got from that person and what we learned from them and how they're always with us in spirit and soul. Through that true essence of who they are, that light being that was locked within that body of darkness. And when I see everybody approaching the family and saying, I'm sorry for your condolences, or whatever they say, something like that. Well, to me, I'm thinking, what are you sorry for? There's nothing to be sorry for. It's a time of celebration, to celebrate that one's life that they had on this earth as a physical being, and how they've went home to that spiritual being that they truly are, that true essence that was locked within that dark body. And yet we look at it like we're the ones that's hurting. So we cry and feel and get emotional about it, like it's us that has a problem, that it's us that needs looking after, making it all about us. While the dark body rests and the soul rises back home to its true essence, we take away from that beautiful life that was in that body, that was expressed through that body, through that vessel. And because we're left with the body of darkness and the soul is left it, we hold on to that darkness like a loss and forget about all that we learnt and all that we have from that learning that we got from that person, from that being that rested within that body. So why do we make it about us? Why do we keep on holding on to the darkness? Is it because that's what's left? The magnetism of darkness is there, the soul has left the body? But what is disturbing about it is this isn't a celebration for that life. And yet it carries on to several days, weeks, months, possibly years, longing for that person, that being that was within that body. Never understanding or looking at that vessel that held the true essence of what was in that soul. Never celebrating it, but feeling that we lost out, taken away from that life and making it about our own. Or if we looked at the connection we had to that life and how we learned from it and learned from that soul who we are in that part of our life, then we could be thankful for when we had that vessel, for that soul in that vessel, while it was operating within this physical life as we see it. Then we could celebrate that and be thankful for it. And what we do is when the soul leaves the vessel, we get rid of the darkness. And within time, not with everyone, but as we bond, that closeness, get attachments where we link to it and make it about us, and we destroy ourselves. But generally, in a wider view, if you look around after our passing, the person is forgotten. The story's forgotten, which is the most important thing. Because it's the story that brought that death so they could leave and go home again. Now, if we look at that person's story of that vessel and where it was and where it went to and how it got to its death that we would see on the physical level, then we would experience a whole new learning. Of how to manage life, how to celebrate that life of that vessel, and not to be held on to a feeling of that end moment that we capture inside and hold on to that and make that a painful moment that resonates with us for the rest of our lives. While that moment should be a celebration of all that vessel's life in what we've found out about it and what we've learned from it. And we should be capturing that and keeping it in here and living in joy that we had that moment with that person, with that vessel, that soul. And moving on in our own life in joy. Enjoying every moment of every story that we learned, of every vessel, whether that physical vessel happened to pass away. Because in generally we don't really keep a memory of them. We keep a memory of the end moment and capture that pain. But as you see around you when the passing of someone happens, they're very quickly forgotten. And if they go to, if there's ever any speak about that vessel, it's normally something on the end field of like how long are they dead now. So to speak about the end moment to the moment that has been in between where they have never been mentioned or thought of, but the distance from how long ago it was, how long ago that celebration should have been. Now we may have ins and outs of short stories, but the past, if we could have a death with its life story that we all could learn of what that person learned in life, then we'd all have something to celebrate. This is just another few. It's how I see life. Personally, I would like to have a funeral, but I say but because I wouldn't want anyone to come to it to be shedding a tear. Not that I think anyone would that knows me anyway. Not that that bothers me. That's great actually. It's so good because I wouldn't want anyone at my funeral shedding a tear. That's the last thing I'd want. And as I say, I would want a funeral where people got up and celebrated the good times that they had with me, the times they enjoyed, uh, what they learned from me, what they didn't learn from me, my silly moments, all my different moments. And I think, well, if I, as a physical being, was still on the plane, which wouldn't be possible, but if I was able to see that in the physical field, I know I would be happy. But I also know my spirit will be overexcited and happy and delighted that these people, these vessels, are enjoying themselves because of me. That would make a massive difference to my soul and to these beings. Just think about that. For any vessel that comes along and is coming to an end, think about the beautiful life that they've had, that you've shared with them. Obviously, you're going to lose that vessel as a physical being and that magnetism to them. Your body's going to feel a sense of loss as it's had that knowing, that familiarity of having that person in your life. So it's about balancing it. So there will be a certain amount of pain and loss of the physical body, but to understand that it's meant to be celebrated. And if we brought that celebration to life, that loss wouldn't be so strenuous on our bodies. And it's not that you're neglecting the loss of that person, you're celebrating the loss of that person. And I don't think there's anybody on this planet who would want to leave the planet seeing others hurting because of their departure. I believe they would want you happy, enjoying your life. Anyway, as always, that's just my view, and love and peace with Happy Chat. Bye.